What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me? What are you wondering? What do you know? Why aren't you scared of me? Why do you care for me? When we all falling asleep, where do we go? Come here. Say it, spit it out. What is it exactly? The pain is the amount cleaning you out and my satisfaction. Today I'm thinking about things that are deadly. The way I'm making you down, like I wanna drown, I wanna step on the glass, step on your tongue. Bury a friend, try to wake up. Feeling the flash, killing the sun. Bury a friend, I wanna end. What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me? What are you wondering? What do you know? Why aren't you scared of me? Why do you care for me? When we all falling asleep, where do we go? Listen, keep you in the dark without you expected me to make you my art and make it a start and get.
And we're back like we never left. Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Here to talk about something a little different. Tonight, me and Ashley and I talk about a plethora of things. Lately horror, maybe not so much. Sinners is one thing, and Bring Her Back is a complete other. Welcome to this good old live. We are very happy to have you guys here. Be sure that you are hitting the like button, letting us know what you think about our commentary below, and also letting us know, like, what did you think about their first movie, the Talk to Me situation, this one. And also, if you haven't seen this movie, did we make you at all want to watch it? Ashley, how are you feeling?
I feel good. Today I'm coming into this with a bit of trepidation. I did watch Talk to Me on my own, since we did watch Bring Her Back earlier, and um, I'm ready to get it over with, Tyra. Yeah, this really cemented to me. I am truly not a horror girly. I'm not. I'm
Don't say
not. I'm
that,
not.
please.
I'm not.
Don't say that. I knew you was gonna leave with that. Do not say that because there are so many different like spaces. Like there are so many horror subgenres. Like you may not just be this particular genre horror girl, but there's room for everybody. Okay.
Okay. All
There's
right.
room for everybody. But we definitely aren't gonna waste you guys' time. We're gonna go ahead and dive into it. Actually, of course, I'm gonna start with you first, because this movie won't be for everyone.
I
What
don't
were
know.
your overall thoughts of Bring Her Back?
Not for everyone. Who is it for? I mean, there's got to be a weird, perverse subset of the population who just adored Bring Her Back. Here's the thing. If you can knit a yarn for me and tell me a compelling story, I'm going to be invested. But watching this little demon seed chew on the countertops, chew knives and blades and all manner of evil, it just didn't, to me, the gore, the violence, the weirdness of it all didn't match up with the storyline. I honestly think the premise had potential. Like, I like this idea of a grieving mother who has lost her only child and she'll do anything. She'll go to the depths to bring her baby back. But they just threw it on us. Like, I would have loved if we could have gone back and maybe seen what her grieving process was and how she got in contact with this Satanist cult who taught her the ways. We just see a videotape. Heffa, where'd you get the tape? Like, I don't know. If there was just more that I needed in terms of a background to really get compelled, then you had blind Bartimaeus Jr. and her brother who was on the edge of nowhere. And I think there was a way to tie it all in. But for me, this was for shock and awe. This was to have you gagging. This was to have the girls gagged, and it didn't land for me.
Um, I am definitely a horror girly, so I don't mind a good chewing of a countertop or something, a little shock and awe here and there, a little cringe. Like I like a good because you get a little desensitized in the horror space after you've been watching it for so long. So it's like, what are you gonna do now that's gonna be different? That's gonna shock me? Like flinch where? If I find myself like clutching a little pearl, like oh my goodness, like that's a lot for me. I live for those moments because I don't get a whole lot of them. Um, this is definitely an acquired taste. I it left me wanting more, but I don't know if it's in a good way. One thing I will say when it comes to like a good horror, whether narratively speaking you enjoyed it or not, if it makes you want to go back and seek to know why or rewatch, or that was just so mind blowing that I need to figure out why, this didn't do that for me. If I never saw Bring Her Back Again, I wouldn't be mad at it. And that's something that I really don't like to take away from horror, especially something that I consider a good horror. I need to be able to want to go back and see it. And this was a one and done for me. Now, some things can be like a one and done, and you'll say that just to say it, like, "Oh, I don't never need to." But okay, like I would say, Hereditary for a lot of people is a one and done. But when I watched it, I was like, it's a one and done for now. But eventually, I want to go back and see certain things unfold and find, certain agendas and clues. And oh, I didn't notice that the first time. That's tracing us back to X, Y, and Z. This one, not so much. But I will say it pissed me off. It pissed me off. If that was the accomplishment to piss me off, it did that without a doubt. But let's go on into these folks here. Now, for anybody who are not familiar with Danny and Michael here, this brother duo, they are very massive and I'm sure still are in the YouTube space. And it's always nice to see, if you are a YouTuber, to see growth. And you have these guys here who were mostly known on their channel for stunt work and comedic horror skits and videos and doing all of these outlandish things in the comfort of their backyard. And now we get to the point where they are able to do their own films. And we're on the second film, with the first one being Talk to Me. Actually, you don't have to say a lot, but how do you feel about the journey of YouTube to actual filmmaking? Because they started on YouTube.
I mean, I don't know these people, and I'm really concerned about them and their mental health, who raised them and where they came from. However, like we see it every day, right? With people who have been grinding on YouTube for years, manage to acquire or amass a following, a community, and then venture out and pivot into what their real hopes and dreams are. And I love that for them. Like, I love that for anybody who's able to build something, first of all, from the ground up, and then transition it into something that's beyond the platform, right? Because for better or for worse, these films will live in infamy from here on out, right? They got the funding, they did all the things. And I also think credit is due here too, because YouTube is hard. YouTube in and of itself is hard. And if you think about, especially the people who do skits and do their little mini shorts and web series, that's an immense amount of work that a lot of times they're doing, if they even have a team, with a very small team, versus the productions we see on TV who have hundreds of, crew members to do that. So I respect anyone who can go this journey, stick it out to really amass, wealth, or, to really venture in to do what they want to do. I think that's the dream for anybody who's here. Like, this is great. I love this. I want to make the best of it. But if I can then get other opportunities after it, that's like a
Yeah.
cherry on top. So kudos to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, these guys, because they were really good at the effects, and some people reached out like, "Hey, you want to work on the Babadook on the effects crew team?" And we went from there, and we got into making our own films. Like, this is great, and I still to this day think that it's amazing. But leaving, how amazing it is, let's get into the pros and cons of Bring Her Back. Because I dug for this. Know that. Pros for
Yeah.
me, and Ashley, you of course can elaborate afterwards. I like a good trailer that is ambiguous. So often now you will get the whole damn movie in the trailer, and this was one because I like watching trailers. I think it's sad now that you have to avoid them out of fear that the movie's going to be spoiled. I really enjoyed the trailer not giving much away. The cast here: Miss Shelley, aka Shape of Water, aka the lead cuckoo bird in this film. She's great. I loved her there, and I love her here as well. I think the cast overall, pretty much consisting of young adults, children. I think everybody was immensely talented and did a really really good job. First take on a familiar premise, and I could say the same thing. I feel like they're taking it. Kind of what we got from Talk to Me in the sense of possession. Here, you probably start watching this and you're thinking you're getting one thing, because this is very much also a take on demonic possession and the transferring of, the spirit, and kind of still that same thing. It's hard to get these things that are so familiar, and you have all these horror staples for something that's a cult, or getting these ritualistic references and have your own take on it. Whether I like the way that they executed it is another thing, but it was refreshing. This movie definitely has its own narrative, for good or bad, and that's good. Suspense, atmosphere, and lighting. I really like that we weren't in the dark. With so much of horror now, they will put us in the dark. You can't really see anything. The camera's moving really, really fast. It was very bright. This whole film was really bright. We were outside, we were in nature, and we were scared. I really enjoyed the atmosphere and the lighting, the suspense, because my nerves were bad. Okay, I didn't know where we were going, when we were going to get there, and what was going to happen when we got there, and I was nervous for the children. That was a thing. The gore and the practical effects. Now, baby, y'all know I am a stickler when it comes to effects. I am not a fan of CGI, and I can't see where. Maybe certain moments, but for the most part, everything here was really practical, and it was felt. All them little grinds on the counter, that scene, all of it. It was very practical and up to par. I loved all of that. No jump scares. Now I'm sure that there may have been whatever, but it's really rare now that you get a film that is not hyper fixated on a jump scare. That's really, really telling at how greatly you're executing your horror film, to me, that you don't necessarily need that to get a rise out of the audience. Did we use something else? Yeah, we did, but it wasn't a jump scare. It kept me guessing. I did not know where we were going to end up. I think what we're getting to, especially with our lead, that we were going to end up in a certain place of maybe, reprieve, a breath. And we went somewhere totally different. I was like, oh, okay. It kept me guessing. I never really just knew what was going to happen next. And I always love something that's a boundary pusher. So much of horror now. Y'all know my stance is horror. Kill them kids, okay? Kill them kids. If you want me to think that your horror movie means business, kill an old person. Kill a pregnant lady, kill a kid. Like, oh, we're cooking. We're cooking. And they did all of that here. If we're not afraid to be gory and push some boundaries and push a narrative, because yeah, this is our movie and we're gonna push buttons, I'm cool with that. Cons, I do not feel like bring her back has any rewatchability. I have no intentions of going to rewatch this ever, and that's a problem. The story left a lot to be desired. By the time we got into maybe that second act, I feel like I kind of knew, okay, I know her agenda, not as if it was, hidden or whatever. But the third act really fell short for me, because I needed something to happen that didn't happen. Was the bleakness warranted? Now y'all know, especially Ashley, I don't mind a good bleak affair. Okay, the bleaker the better, the darker the better. I don't know with our leads if it was warranted, and it really left me upset with where we were. Characters reacting unnaturally. The red flags throughout this film in those children and what we were sticking around for with Miss Girl, it didn't come across as anything that any other, 18-year-old will be sticking around for, because I'm getting my sister and I'm getting the hell out of here just as quickly as we were dropped off. I'm going. Shock value over substance. Yeah. As much as I love gore, it needs to be warranted. It needs to make sense. And some of it didn't here. And it just felt like, oh, we're trying to really just push buttons just to push them. As much as I love a good boundary pusher, it needs to make sense with the writing. And the unresolved trauma. As I said with that ending, there were certain things that I wanted to see that we just did not get. Ashley, pros and cons.
Yeah. I don't have anything good to say about this movie. Okay, I'll give it up to, I think the actors with what they were given, it was fine. Like, it was fine, right? Pros, I agree. I could see, I could see, uh,
I'm finding it.
just give me, okay, so I will give it up for the little boy Connor, who is like our main vehicle or vessel. I think that they did a really great job with the makeup. Like he completely transformed, and it wasn't as overt as you would think. There were like subtle changes that they made when he was back human again. Even when the first time we see him over the boundary line, and he's like, "Hold on, what's going on?" Blah blah blah, and then he immediately comes back into character. So I don't know. Is that makeup? Is that
Yeah,
costume
let's make up.
design?
We'll take it.
Whatever. Yeah. And honestly, he looked scary as hell. So if that was the
Yeah.
motivation for little Connor, he definitely ate that up. Tyra, I jumped and I was scared. All right. I know you said there was no jump scares. When he came in there chewing on that blade of that knife, I was like, oh my gosh, was that a jump? Was that a scare? That's all I got, Tyra, for pros. Cons, again, I needed more. Like, and I don't want to fully suspend reality because we are supposed to think that this is something that could happen, right? Like that's the appeal, I guess, of this type of horror, is the idea of like, what if there was this supernatural force that I could appeal to bring my daughter back? With that being said, the son, the older brother, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe how quickly he'd be willing to acquiesce to this stranger, knowing that he had a history of abuse, although they really didn't do a great job of fleshing that out for us as far as the dynamic between his sister, and his father. It was like, okay, he never hit you, but then he did these things to me. I think they could have done a little bit better with going back and giving us more of his lore, because when he got here, I'm like, why is he so trusting? Like, why? And like, again, you had to almost suspend belief because you can't feel this lady pouring piss on you when you're sleeping in the bed, young man. So there were a couple things over there that I was just like, I thought it was gratuitous for no reason. Like, make it make sense. Because what was the point in the baby chewing on the blade? Like, we already know this is a otherworldly possessed demon that needs to feed. All right. So let us see it feeding. I mean, if we're going to do something like that, I needed.
Well, wait, Ashley, before you
What?
continue,
What?
they were getting. I know you'll be like, what? They were getting minor pushback from Talk to Me from certain fans. Like, yeah, it wasn't gory or bloody enough. So they were like, we're going to push even more boundaries the next time. You just watch Talk to Me.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, you have it pretty much all here. I wanted that raggedy witch to pay. I don't want you hugged up with the corpse in the pool, gently going into your oblivion. I want to see you pay. Now, that's what I wanted to see bleed. That's who I wanted to see pay the cost to be the boss. I also think that the son went out bad. I wanted more with his death. I wanted more with that.
That pissed me off. That pissed me off. Like a lot of it pissed me off. I think getting back into these two directors, and I guess it's a indifferent type situation. This was a little too on the nose for me. If you are jumping off the porch again with a horror, I would like for you to go completely in the opposite direction. The way that we have the narrative here, once again, just like Talk to Me, which I feel like is the superior film, but hey, this is just their second outing. They have a lot of room for growth and a lot of potential. I am still going to be looking forward to what they have to offer. But narratively, Talk to Me was definitely the better film. But if you're going to come back with a second outing so soon, like, let's not do grief. It's still the boundary pushing of, what are you willing to do? Who are you willing to sacrifice to, get back or get closer to this loved one that isn't here anymore? And a lot of the blatant brutality is geared towards, children yet again. So I felt like this was it was too on the nose, and I would rather them have gone, somewhere completely different. Ashley, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's common. I think in any genre for you lose a loved one, you want to do everything to bring it back. But we know Game of Thrones taught us only death can pay for life. All right, that's not something normal magic does. And then outside of that, or it's something selfish. And I agree, because Talk to Me, very very similar, right? She's like my mommy. Oh my gosh, we talked to the demon and the demon did X, Y, or Z. again, I agree. I believe that Talk to Me was head and shoulders above this one. And I think it's because we got a more complete narrative. Like, we understood her motivations very early on. We got this, even though it wasn't even overt, we got this feeling of, okay, she wants to be accepted. She wants to be loved. She's, you know, kind of in this place like of grief, but also just like peer pressure and acceptance. And like, I want to have friends and I want to be this person. And so it made sense, the reason she wanted to go back playing with, even though I don't think black people play with demons. But anyway, that's what she decided to do. And even the ending, like I was telling you earlier, even the ending of Talk to Me was poetic, right? We see this go full
Full
circle. Like,
circle.
what
Full
did she
circle.
do? And they even left us with some open things. Like, okay, did she have a better moment and she decided not to take out the son? Did she come to herself? I really also enjoyed in Talk to Me how it went back and forth, because I immediately knew after she was in there over the time and had gone back multiple times that this thing was inside of her. It was just waiting for its time to come back out. And so I really liked how we got to see her, and then we saw the other creature that she was seeing from the outside looking in. The perspective was crazy in Talk to Me. They did a really, really great job with that, even though, like I said, black folks don't play with demons. And over here, I do think this was a low-hanging fruit. I think if our protagonist or our villain, our antagonist in this one would have been out just for purely selfish motivation, like she wanted to never age or some, even though that's been done a ton of times, I would have liked them coming from that approach versus the grief approach. Because like you said, I feel like that's been, you just did it and you did a great job. And I think you kind of pigeonhole yourself in the space when you become redundant, right? Because then there's a direct comparison, and I'm looking at Talk to Me like, oh, y'all didn't have, okay, like you kind of mailed this in, you know, but you know.
Yeah, and then this was a quick, Talk to Me was just as recent as what, '03. So I think, let's not, jump too much. Like, still take your time, even though we are making that big leap from YouTube to now being writers and directors of our own film. Time still needs to be spent cultivating a really good story, because as a whole, Talk to Me feels complete. And if nothing else, Bring Her Back feels very, very incomplete to me. But leaving this here. Look at Ashley. I saw how she enjoyed Talk to Me. Y'all heard the passion, and I'm.
Child, I definitely enjoyed it. No, I didn't say I enjoyed it. It was just much better.
I felt it. I'm gonna just take it. She don't gotta say it. You know, just the two of us. We can make it if we try, because literally their foot is on the gas. I think 2 minutes within the film. 2 minutes within the film, we don't get a foot off of our neck from the beginning of the movie, because we're immediately met with death. We have a brief moment to know that this is my sister, not by birth, but maybe by the mom. We no longer have moms. This is our dad. Oh, he's dead. Freak accident, slip and fall in the shower. Like, okay. But we immediately are dealing with things like, foster care, and Brick Bro Andy, soon to be 18, he wants to care for his little sister, Piper. As you were saying with, and I don't want to keep comparing it to Talk to Me, like, even though it was brief, we knew Mia's foundation and her motivation and why she was the way she was immediately, versus here where they decided to kind of drop it into us in increments as far as Andy is concerned, with who his father, maybe wasn't, to him, and how he, treated them. But how did you feel at the start of this film, just kind of jumping straight into it? Would it have benefited us to maybe have a little family time, just a little bit, just to see?
I mean, because and that was immediately kind of threw me off, because I think one of the first scenes that we see as the film opens is her waiting at the bus stop, and when her brother comes, when Andy comes, oh yeah, no, he's a Chester or something slick, she says, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, and that's supposed to endear us and let us know the dynamic of the relationship, that he cares for you and you love him down boots. It didn't give that to me. I would have liked some, maybe him cooking dinner for her, the dad being absent, some flashback to really get us ingrained to why he had this bond and why he'd be so willing to take her on. Like, we get it, but it would have been nice to really kind of have fleshed that out more, so we understood truly the dynamic of the relationship, because they lay it on thick when we're in the foster, office, we need to be together. I need to be with my brother. But we didn't, it was a dry lead into that. We didn't understand that that was the dynamic. Like, oh, I love you to the moon and back, and I take care of her. And no, we didn't get that. And even later on, just speaking to continuity, and if we're going to push a certain narrative or storyline that these two are so close that they can't be separated, later in the film, for her to automatically believe this woman over a brother that's been taking care of you your whole life. Again, I just think stories have to make sense if you're going to sell it. Otherwise, it kind of takes me out of it because I don't believe you anymore. Like, you don't love your brother down like that if that's all it took. Girl,
I
why
mean,
did you do that?
this is pretty common, especially in a horror space when they're like, "Oh, we this is a film with a point to prove. There isn't going to be any." And I should have known when they opened with that we weren't going to end off in the less bleak area of the situations. But what I did like about Talk to Me, we get that brutality across as far as what that possessed hand can do, but it's via another vehicle. We have that incident with the brother in the beginning, and then we just jump to Mia, and it's a completely, so you got what you needed, but we
Mhm.
still got the narrative of mentally where they were. We didn't really get it too much here at the beginning, and I think them opting to kind of sprinkle what exactly the father was and Andy's experiences throughout the film. I don't think it did it too many benefits. But to open like that was a very, very bold choice. It's frontal, and in the shower and like, oh, now we gotta go to foster care. And it was very, very brief. I do think the film suffered a little bit with a pacing issue in that
Mhm.
regard. But I'm just saying. But we did, and I think we needed that because I don't know if I maybe missed it, but I don't think we get confirmation on, because this isn't a blood sister. So it's like,
Mhm.
just how long have you guys been brother and
Been together.
sister? When did he marry Piper's mom? Like, was this, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Has she been here, since she was a baby? I think we need those, because via the interaction, child, this just became your sister a year or so ago.
Yesterday. Mhm.
It
Yesterday.
just but we get I guess that later on with Andy, and how it's like, oh, he did X, Y, and Z, but never to her. So it
Yeah.
does feel like there maybe was some time, but I don't want to play the guessing game on something that should be really, really important. But with that being said, I do like the crosshairs as far as Andy is concerned, and how he has this resentment with the father and the sister, and also this remorse. I like the intersectionality of that. We did not explore that like I feel like we could have,
Yeah.
but I think that that's something really different when we are getting into grief depictions, because a lot of time it only looks like one thing. But when you have him trying to clothe and mask her, and I think that's interesting with her already being vision impaired, he's still trying really hard to protect her from knowing and seeing. I want you to believe that dad was this one thing, even though he was freaking awful to me and abusive to me, and we weren't treated the same. And Grapefruit, yeah, it was trash. But
Mhm.
how did you feel about Andy, not just as a whole, because we're gonna get to the mess, but just everything that he was dealing with as far as this resent and remorse that he had for the sister? Because I don't think we ever felt like, if push comes to shove, girl, I'll leave you here. It was like, no, I'm not leaving, without my sister, while at the same time having this remorse because you were treated differently than I was. You were loved, I wasn't.
Yeah. I think the kind of the elephant in the room was that he was battling his own mental health issues outside of the recent trauma and loss of the father. When they go back and he's like, yeah, I was institutionalized before. We didn't get to delve even a flashback of him spazzing or doing something. And I think it did a disservice not only to his character, but just to the topic of mental health with teen boys and how they navigate that. Because even with the bedwetting, it gave that there was a history of other things as well that he was battling, and they just said, hands off. We're just not even going to touch it. Because you're right, this is not a normal, quote unquote, if anyone's normal, it's not a normal 18-year-old, 17-year-old, soon to be 18-year-old boy. Andy was not that. And I wish we could have explored him more in terms of just the depth of it all. Because how can I kind of not like you, but I love you at the same time?
Yeah.
I'm kind of annoyed that I kind of have to be here for you, and you were the pretty princess, and I was the one who was kind of in the cave. And then even when we get to the current situation, you're still being treated like a princess, and I'm going through the same thing. So we have this mirror, but we never explore it. We never explored. It's like he's going along to get along. And all the time I was like, I want him to get angry. Like, I want him to get angry. And I didn't want it to come, more than halfway at the end of the movie. Like, I need you to get smart, my guy. Like, you've been through things. You're a child of trauma. Why are you responding this way to this stranger?
I think it was because he was so traumatized, even though his initial response was to be triggered and like, hell, don't touch my phone, like don't touch my things, da da da. But it wasn't enough because who knows for how long, with what he's saying all his life, he was abused and reprimanded and shut down by his dad. And I think that's why we have all those sequences of, the protein and him trying to lift weights. And he just can't, like, damn, baby, you can't lift that little weight. He just couldn't, it's this sense of never being strong enough, but he's trying to work his way up to be that 18-year-old, kind of try to leap into some sense of manhood, because now my sister needs me because we don't have this man anymore. But low-key, I never wanted him. I'm kind of glad he's gone. Like, it's just this shock. Even that fear he has around, showers and water and all of these things. And even not even, because mentally he has to be somewhere to not even question the bedwetting. And it's like, maybe it's not even you doing bedwetting, it's heifer. I don't know what it is about the horror space and this piss. Stop using piss in horror, okay? I've seen more pee in horror this past year or two than I've wanted to, but that's the thing.
God.
Child, like, leave the pee where it is. Y'all just violent
Lord.
But the fact that he didn't even question it, because mentally where I am and the things that I'm imagining and seeing and the trauma that I'm trying to suppress from my father with the abuse, along with the trauma of just catching him in that state, child, I probably am wetting myself. I'm not even going to question it. So yeah,
I think he's battled things before. It makes me feel like this isn't, and bedwetting typically in kids is the result of something else as well. So we just never really got into the depths of what he'd been through or why he has this mental illness. You know what I mean? And I'm calling it mental health issues because I believe he did. I really do. He was real different. Poor baby.
Yeah. Dang, shut up. Okay, let me keep going. I always done that talking. All I see is, I ain't even reading it. All I see is my name in all caps. But I feel like watching it that second time, just pushing the more so gruesome things to the side, and the knife and the teeth and the cantaloupe of it all. I feel like the bulk of this is just things around child abuse and neglect. That's what I jumped into. And I say that because I remember us watching it initially, and our first words I think all of us uttered is, "Oh, they just giving kids to anybody. They just let anybody take the kids in the foster system." And I think we see this so often, and I'm never going to try to make sense of why this film decided to have that outcome, because it still pissed me off. But I think so badly we wanted, especially Andy, to come from underneath this, and the fact that he didn't, and it does feel like narratively with how much he suffered, he would be the person that he has to come out of this. Come on, like, if you just hit in the back of her head, like, let's just get her and run, like, just and you're waiting because you want that for him. But so many times when you do have foster situations, you do have scenarios where they are mistreated in a way even beyond the circumstances that they just left, or the ones that you do, oh, he had so much potential and it was so and they are sometimes the ones who can't come from underneath it. But actually, in the broader theme of things, do you see the major themes here being child neglect and abuse, even when we're getting into that heifer?
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of loss and grief, I think those come next. And then, of course, like I said, mental health, because mama was off her rocker, Andy's off his rocker, and baby blind Bartimaeus, she was almost on her verge of being off her rocker. And poor Connor, he don't stand a chance. Stink. He's gonna have to be inpatient somewhere after all is said and done. But definitely it was echoed throughout. We know what she had done to Connor. I'm really kind of lost as to how many others, if there had been others, if Connor was the only, because honestly, we're trying to feed the spirit. So ultimately the spirit will give us what we want. So yeah, no, definitely. And in the crazy, and that maybe that is where they were going with Andy, because maybe he's only been accustomed to abuse. So maybe this is why it felt like home for him. And she would sprinkle the good times, like, okay, let's have a good time. You know, I'm going to get him drunk, you know, all of this, whatever. I'm going to, you know, give him the forbidden fruit. All the while, I'm going to keep Piper separate, and I'm going to spoil her truly and just make her love me so I can cause this division. I literally saw that immediately. I was like, oh, she's trying to separate them. She never
In the
wanted Andy there in the
basement.
first place. Never wanted Andy there in the first place. And I think, unfortunately, abused people abuse children. Unfortunately, after a certain point, abuse is what's comfortable. Neglect is what's comfortable. Being treated and put in the basement and pissed on is what becomes normal, apparently. So, no, I definitely saw that. But again, I think we could have expounded more on that. I honestly think our villain could have been more villainous, if that's even possible. I mean, the piss, okay, but I think there's more she probably could have done. But you know, they did what they wanted to do with it.
Yeah. But I think that would explain maybe why, because the red flags were flagging, and it's just like immediately when you touch down, we're getting the hell out of here. But if you don't know anything different, oh, I don't have, I'm not alarmed that she's separating us or giving her special treatment, and I'm, in a separate room and a mattress on the floor, and I'm, kind of being left out, and they're doing all of these outings. So I think that in a sense makes a whole lot of sense as far as his behavior, and he's just kind of gearing up, probably in the same way that he was gearing up maybe before the dad died. Let me just try to, physically make myself stronger, because mentally and internally I'm not. And even in this situation, even more so, because now Piper needs me. But when you've had to deal with so much, just like I'm counting down, literally 18, and I'm getting the hell out of here. And then we have this situation happen, and now we have to be stronger than we ever thought we needed to be in a time, because we're in the house with a demon. But yeah, I just want to do that. Because when she hit Piper in the eye, I was like, heck. It's like, yeah, oh, ran by and hit you in the eye. Boy, what the hell hit my sister in the eye? But meeting Laura here, I really love this actress. There is something really kooky and unsettling about her. And it did well for this here, because immediately when we meet her, I was like, get them kids out of there. Get them kids out of there, getting back into the themes of abuse and neglect. I love that we have the woman like, well, no, we know her. She worked here. You always think, well, we know her. She would never. Yeah, save them damn children. But we were not interested in saving the children because they were in the care of Miss Laura. It was kind of where you're saying you wanted more from her. I wanted a little less. I think, which I guess kind of being redundant of what we just said about Andy, and why wouldn't he be alarmed to get the hell away from her immediately? Or even hell, I was like, Piper, baby, you can hear. Get the hell. But it's I wanted us to kind of ease into it, and not just with her, but when we get into Connor, abuse is one thing, but it was like, okay, damn. When we're meeting her and her behavior, it is crazy. Connor and the introduction, it's crazy. So it's like, get out of there, or invest a little, investigate. Like, she's clearly not okay. But I think it was a whole lot of fear around her, and just foster care in the system of, okay, this situation isn't okay, or this situation happened, so now you need to go live with this person, and we're holding her in a high regard because we know her. Meanwhile, she's kooky and crazy and has her own agenda. We spend most of the film with her, of course, having separate treatment for the both of the kids, and also having this unhinged strategic behavior. I don't like that, which makes me have an issue with the pacing, because we knew what she was doing. We're like, okay, she's trying to set you up. We already knew immediately, like, okay, she wants Piper for whatever she wants her for. She wants her for something. She doesn't care about you. She never wanted you. And we heard the foster care chick say that already. But it's like, yeah, I'm gonna try to catch you in these situations, try to vet and get you to, relinquish information to me that I can use on you later. we knew that. So we spent a lot of the time just waiting for her happening to happen, because we know you're trying to set him up to have him put up somewhere, have him look kooky and crazy, not be able to uh, have sole custody over the sister, so you can do whatever you're planning. So that didn't leave me with a whole lot to look forward to. Meanwhile, we just have her doing the ritualistic grief things to try to keep Connor, which we're going to get into, because I don't know where we got too much with Laura here. But actually, what did you think about Laura?
I wasn't moved by Laura. Like again, I like my villains super villainous. And I always think that there was this, I don't know. There was this franticness about her. And I guess I like my villains more calculated. That's just a personal preference for me. It seemed like she was just grifting kind of through it. Like, how do I do this? Okay, let me put the tape in. Let me run it back, because what did I do again? Okay, I got to rub the circle 3 times in his forehead and I'll get it. I want my villains calculated, girl. You need to know what you're doing. Also, this is another place where they really could have expanded, because again, I want to know how she got the tape. I want to know how she got this magic, these spells, whatever. How did you get here, Laura? Because you worked in foster care for 20 years. Were you always despicable, or did the death of your daughter just precipitate, this kind of super villainy that you're, taking on all these kids and abusing them? But yeah, I guess I wanted more from her. But again, I think that was the intention of this character. She is supposed to be scattered. She is supposed to be unhinged. It is supposed to give, because when she bopped Piper in the face, it was like whack-a-mole. I was like, girl, what,
The hell?
what
We
are
were
you
standing over
doing?
the dad's body. She's like, yeah, kiss your dad. It's custom. Like, you want me to help? Like, girl, get the hell away from me.
Girl. And then to cut a piece of his hair and whatever. I just wanted to know more, like I said, about the lore of it all. Girl, where did you get these rituals? And you know what I mean? Is there someone you're reporting? Like, is there someone with this deeper knowledge? Like, give me something, Laura, because I just wanted to kick Laura down the steps and have her eat some knives. That's what I wanted for her. I didn't like Laura. I didn't like her.
No, not. I mean, I don't think we were supposed to. But yeah, the reasoning was, I think they just wanted it to be kind of stifled at. Well, her daughter passed due to this incident, and kind of have her mentally kind of register like, oh, Piper's kind of the second coming, because my baby was impaired too, so she's gonna be the vessel, and I'm gonna do like
But
they.
there's always more though, Tyra. I don't think grief in and of itself is enough. Like I feel like she had to have a tinge of something, and I would have wanted to have seen that, or at least got a glimpse or a callback to it, girl. Because you was always damn unhinged. People lose kids every single day, and you don't see them trying to keeping the body in the back room and kidnapping kids and
On ice. Everybody was on ice for however long. Yeah.
girl.
But we have Connor here. This is when we really rub up those red flags, because baby, if this is who was in your care, and you're so guardian or whatever over me, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Mhm.
Connor is, mute. He terrifying, while at the same time being terrified in a sense. And the acting, like you said, from Connor was great, because at certain moments he had to be like completely shifting between absolutely demonic and also have this vulnerability of somebody trapped inside and trying to get out. I think they did a really good job there, but Connor is mostly at this point, because nothing's transferred over, this cult like vessel for this spirit to bring her daughter back. But what does it want? What is the lure? When we have that moment of her cutting the dad's hair and later feeding it to Connor, I was like, for what? It with the it wasn't explained enough to me. And of course you can elaborate, but I've seen a lot of freaking movies that want to get over into ritual things, and I need it to eventually come full circle, and I don't believe it did in Connor's space. The way that Connor was running around, if we are getting to the point of we'll eat our own flesh, or we're self-harming, the counter, the knife, all of that, or chickens. I thought at one moment I was like, "Oh, Connor gonna eat that cat, okay? Connor's gonna eat that cat." And we have, her like, "Did I do it right? Am I doing things?" And she's she's referencing the tape, and we have the white circle, of course. If you go out of this line, the spirit is escaping, and we have what we see later. Connor is able to go back, so she needs to keep him within the guideline. But it was just like the way that Connor was moving in this ample appetite. I didn't think it mattered. It felt like something or a spirit that needed to be fed, and it didn't matter who it was or what it was. If it was an animal, because if we can eat a chicken, we can eat a dog, we can eat a cat, we can eat a person. Like, it just didn't feel like too much harbored on the vessel being in the daughter's favor. I just didn't really connect it well enough to that. And then, like you said, we have this tape, like when she comes home and Connor is out of the barrier, we rush back to the back room and turn up the volume and play the tape like it's like some type of chant. But it seems like every single reference, she has no connection to anybody outside. We're getting it strictly. Why is this you here? We're getting it strictly from the in my lore, from the
Oh.
from the tape. And it's like, if that's your only reference, you literally took this and built whatever up in your mind to do these actions. And you know that, oh, okay, I need to feed what exactly? Like, what was Connor supposed to eat Piper? And then, like, what? Because we have that moment in the brief moment in the tape where the person is kind of feasting on the person, and then they go and all the blood and stuff drops into the other person's mouth, and it's like they awaken. And now I guess that's what she was trying to do for Kathy, but it was like, baby, the cat, the person in the video went on ice. That seemed like something that had just occurred, and we're just trying to prove that this process works. Did you really think that we were going to breathe life into that bag of bones? Like, baby, that's a frozen pack of meat. That's a meat pack. But we're delusional. We're crazy. But I said all that to say that the lure just did not come full circle to me, because I personally was waiting on Connor to attack or eat someone, because I didn't feel like there was much dimension on, no, I need Piper for Kathy's sake. If that's the case, then why are we feeding hair? Why are we? I don't know. Ashley?
Yeah, again, and I'm gonna compare, because that's what Talk to Me does really, really well. We do get a full circle, right? Um, at the end of it, we goes full circle in terms of the lore and what Talk to Me was all about, and kind of what the ultimate mission was, right? But over here, it was definitely lacking, because I think whenever you're in a supernatural or spiritual space, there kind of has to be things that are established in the storytelling, right? We need to know or see, like, sometimes they don't have to say it, but if they can show it, right, girl, you're never going to get off scot-free for making this type of sacrifice. Even if we had gotten some distorted zombie version of your daughter after, Piper was sacrificed to strengthen Connor to give him the power. Because you all know that's what it was about. That's what I got. But again, we never got any clarity on, is that exactly it? Is that exactly right? We see clips from this tape, but is that what it is? And I think we needed that. I think we needed a full circle moment in terms of, okay, maybe she finishes the ritual, starts the ritual, but it doesn't work. It backfires, because it always will in these situations. And like I said, I think they took the cheap way out with this, because Connor don't get a happy ending in real life, and
Girl.
neither does she. And so I do think that that was absolutely lacking. But red flags and demonic, what was the last one, Tyra? I'm sorry. Red flags and I needed, I kind of wanted to know if she had, like, again, going to Hereditary, take me to that room. Take me to that treehouse and show me all the other people in their wet cloaks doing whatever they're doing. But Connor, great actor, very androgynous. I thought this was the little girl until we
Yeah.
actually saw
So we
the
got confirmation.
but yeah, I think he does a good job. I worry about children who are in horror movies this young, though. It makes me nervous for them. But definitely, it was a soul eater. It wanted to feast on everything, but she was strengthening it for a reason. And I think the ultimate reason was to try to resurrect her daughter. And I think
Like,
Piper was going to be dinner.
you can't give me, but why Piper? What is the connection in that way? I don't think it was clarified enough. You can't give
Other
me.
than the disability, I don't know.
I'm hungry enough to eat the chickens in the coop, my own skin. I'm, inflicting harm on myself. I'm engorging enough to end up with a pot belly pregnant stomach by the end. But I have enough impulse control to not physically, like in a death type sense, harm anybody just yet. Or it just kept going back and forth to where I thought they were playing with it a little too much, and I needed us to go a little further to believe it. But they did have certain things here, like, oh, that's from the tape, she's doing the ritual, y'all see it, she doing this, she's trying to reenact. Yeah, we got it, but is it good though? Is it
No.
good? It's not. I
You,
needed it to
you
come all the way.
Again, Hereditary is not my favorite film, but they do an excellent job with bringing it full circle. By the end, we understand, like, oh, this was ongoing for a long time. They were playing the long game and it came full circle. We understood it by the end. Honey, with this ritual, we still don't know what it was fully.
I don't know. I thought we was gonna have to see it. I was like, please don't have this little boy give birth. I don't. What do we have to sit through? Because he's looking pregnant. But I guess she was feeding it, so much. Like, who did you? Were you kidnapping other children to feed it? Like, we didn't want no chicken. We don't want no damn cantaloupe. We wanted, flesh. We
No
wanted a
kidding.
person, which is why we was like, well, hell, if I can't, you're not feeding me enough, I'm going to get myself. Like, you had to have been feeding this thing for however long, like, but we didn't go that far. But let's get into Andy. Absolutely zero relief in this film for Andy. Like, this was sad. This was sad. Abused, unprotected, traumatized, vulnerable. Couldn't save himself or his Piper. Couldn't save his sister Piper. Like, I was so like rooting because we didn't have much to go off of or root for. Like, and most of our POV a lot of the time in perspective was, from Andy, and he's the only one here to be the voice of reason, to try to be the savior. And you see him hopefully gearing up. It's like he's trying to take photos and gather this evidence and my protein and my weights, and because I know something's wrong with you, but I can't leave my sister here. I wanted so badly for Andy to rise above. Even if we were limping our way to it, I wanted him to be saved, and he wasn't. And
Amen.
not even just saved, he got such a harsh death. I was like,
We
oh,
did.
what? Andy, like that death was it bothered me. I thought that was a piss poor decision to make. Even if, like, he couldn't die in pursuit of saving Piper, he couldn't die. Like, it had to
Mhm.
be that little whack ass. What is that? What was that? That damn unbreakable. Damn it. Um, split combination from M Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
You know
Whatever
I
that one was. I can't think of the name of it right now. Y'all know what I'm talking about in the chat. That mixture, and then we have that scene where he's killed in that little baby ass puddle of water. It really, really was reminiscent of that, and that pissed me off too. This pissed me off. I needed a better end. I know they're trying to say, like, everybody's not gonna make it. Everybody's not gonna be saved, like, in these, predicaments of child abuse. Yeah, Glass, that's what it was, dang. Pissed me off because he deserved better than that little puddle of water. I wanted that for him though. And it brought me back to, the Wire, because we were like, this kid is the most deserving. If not him, then who? Like, why can't they all? Like, he had to get it, 10 times over throughout his entire life, be it his father, because he was unwanted. Then we move here to this exact same situation, and then we lose our life in the process. This was bullshit, Ashley.
It was. He went out bad. I felt like his death was so lazy because I even said it in the chat when we were watching. I was like, I know they're not going to drown him in this puddle. Like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. After he had brought the social worker there, she sees the truth for what it is. I said, Laura can't move that fast. Laura ain't never in her life moved that fast to get out there and to get to them. I just feel like he deserved better. He deserved more. And it was like he was just on the cusp, right? Like, okay, I got her out here. She's seen it. Now we can get away and go get help. But yeah, no, he went out bad. And he went out thinking his sister sided with the wrong, like, because at this point the daughter's still freaking clueless. It was like, you're useless, girl. Aren't you supposed to have some other senses? Like I just thought, you know what I mean, your other senses, your discernment, something would be heightened in this moment. But no, I think Andy was a hero that never was. Poor Stink. He had a terrible, sad life, and he died terribly in a puddle of muddy water. It was sad. I didn't like it. I didn't like it,
was
Tyra.
like, dang, we couldn't. Dang, this was, and I guess that's the theme of the like. Yeah, I should have known that opening. Yeah, there will be no breaks here. But like Andy, really?
Yeah.
I just knew he was gonna get up. I was like, nah, he playing dead. He playing dead on the ground. Healthy, you thought you ain't got all your marbles anyway. Just play dead, baby. Let her go do what she want to do. Then sneak attack that hoe when Piper come home. It's like no, you're getting nothing. Speaking of Piper, like God, Piper. Piper, instantly trusting, instantly naive, like grapefruit. Piper was trash, like Piper. I will say kudos to this actress. I do like, especially in the horror space, because that's where we see it utilized the most, that we are getting actors and actresses who are actually impaired with whatever their actual character is, and we're not having actors who aren't pretending to be something. No, we're actually, in a wheelchair. We're actually hearing impaired. We're actually blind. Like I appreciate that we're going that extra mile. I think it's cool. But with that being said, Piper baby, you just couldn't see. That was it. You could still hear. You could still smell. You could still taste. You could still know that this is your brother. This is your brother for however long. Like it was so instant, and I don't know if it was supposed to create that divide because she was protected and held in such a high regard for however long with their father. So now it's like, oh, this is normal. This is normal. He's always been, the problematic one. Our dad always has to say something to him. How do we know that this time isn't any different? But I did expect more from Piper. I wanted Piper to stand up so bad.
Mhm.
It was like, I put that say, did you love Andy? Because if so,
No.
we couldn't tell. We could not tell. It was just, we knew her purpose and what she was there for. But and we did have those moments of like, oh no, you stay here. Piper and I are gonna go da 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 because she's trying to have this fake bond to do her little ritual later. But there was never a moment of this isn't okay. And by the time it was, of course, it was too late. But it was like, damn, were you so accustomed to having that privilege and that treatment that no alarm bells were going off? This was crazy to me. Ashley?
Yeah, Piper was a little dingbat. I expect more. I do. Like I said, and I said, I said the same thing in the overall thoughts. Like, girl, he was your brother, right? Like, y'all want us to believe that you were so close that you couldn't be anywhere without him. He needed to be near you. But then it was like he's never hit you before, and you believe he bopped you in the face. Like, it didn't, again, continuity in storytelling, it didn't make sense to me. Because usually a little girl gonna go mad about her brother. Listen, like that's my brother. He would never do that, especially at that 12, 13-ish age that she seemed to be. It just didn't track for me. And I get everybody's different, but girl, like I said, your other senses are supposed to be heightened in this moment. But she was like just so delusional and like just in her little dream world. And maybe it's because she was having the life she wanted, honey. She was going to practice, she was
Mm-hmm.
eating all the things, living her best life. But again, I was like, I feel the same way. Did you love Andy? It didn't seem like she gave a damn. She didn't seem like she was too much pressed, even after all was said and done, and she's in those strangers' car that I was worried about. It didn't seem like that was her concern. You know what I mean? I'm like, girl, what you done been through? But again, we have no background. We don't even know
Say
where
that.
she came from. So,
Yeah.
you
Once
know.
again, leaving us with more questions than answers. And I guess they was like, oh, we finna hit y'all. The hoes gonna love it. No, no, because we don't have that. So was this supposed to give us like, well, you can't give me that he was trying to stand 10 toes down, like, and it's like you're gonna separate us, and I'm gonna show up every single day. You're supposed to wait for me. I'll walk you home from school, or like, or even the way he was going back for her here. We don't get that without some type of connection. Even though he did say like, I was, treated differently, and I did have some resentment because of that. He never touched her, but it was never enough for him to, because she wasn't worried about him. He could have been like dipped and like, girl, all right, peace, two fingers, you're on your own since you're being treated so well. He never did that, so it doesn't make sense for her to have such a separation enough to not have any regard for his safety or his life or shit. I'm sorry, for her own. For her own. Like, it was just very instant. Okay. I
Oblivious.
was like,
Yeah.
girl, wake up. Wake up, baby. Wake
But
up.
maybe that was like her being sheltered, in her obliviousness. Princess Henderson said, "I thought Connor got in trouble when he was 7 for hit." You mean Andy? I didn't hear that part, but I could have just missed it.
I mean, because everything was done which was, for me, in the midst of kind of like that conversation after she had them all drinking at the damn table, and she asked him like, did you ever hate da 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 and all of this, and it's just like, oh well, there were these times, but and just to, which is why she ever went to do that. It still didn't, like, 7 is crazy. 7, it wasn't enough here to have such a underlying resentment to go, yeah, you probably did it. Let me stand with this lady. Like, no. And they didn't make it like in totality that she was just so one sided, but she wasn't, it didn't seem like she was ever on his side enough to have discernment for the situation, or to, are you okay? Like, how, like, she wasn't even checking in with the boy. Like, how are we going? Like, are we talking? And it was just like that one grapefruit moment where they were standing at the casket was supposed to set the precedent for everything, because, oh, you said dad looked such and such. Oh, so you just lied to me over the casket, but I said grapefruit. Oh, now you're not trustworthy. Like, girl,
But
that's your
just
brother. That's your brother, okay? I'm not
yeah.
about to play with you. Piper needs to stand up a little bit more. And then even in the end, she's safe.
Hmm.
She's safe. She is safe. Like, she's safe, and to go on and live, like,
The way I would have left her there, Andy needed to escape for himself. I was saying it the second day. I said, if you don't run away, Andy, you can figure it out on the back end. Send somebody, but you don't go back over there.
Ashley, I am going to ask you, favorite kill or practical effect in the film. You don't have to look at the photo.
I hated it. I hated all of them. I really did, Tyra. I didn't
Nothing.
enjoy
Nothing.
it. Well, the older lady, the social worker getting hit by the car was a little bit funny. It was a little comical. It was a little bit comical. So I'll say that one.
Comical of all things.
Hmm.
The I did enjoy the social worker situation. It was, and I know a lot of people might go for the low hanging fruit of this cantaloupe moment. Once again, getting back into that writing, if we could have had a moment of maybe Connor getting a hold of this knife on his own accord or whatever, but we don't have, here, eat the fruit off of the knife. Don't grab the knife. Oh no, like, we can't, don't spray that on my cracker. I didn't like that scene too much to even get the outcome of the gore that we got. But the lady getting hit by the car was very unexpected, because it's like, oh, heifer, you caught. Ain't no coming back from this. You can't clean this up. Like, come on, get them kids out of there. It's just like, over here. Like, oh, what? Well, since when were you moving so quickly, heifer? She was cleaning up quick. we were making way quick. I was like, ah. And then I don't think the lady's death was surprising to me. It was more so seeing Connor as the aftermath, because I just wanted him to be saved so badly. So to see him lying kind of adjacent to her in the puddle situation. But from a graphic standpoint, I really like those moments, the subtle moments of Andy trying to get a photo and kind of noticing that something is off cure with Connor, and you kind of see these flashes of a demon a little bit. I thought that was subtle and really, really cool. But yeah, all of the other things, they're practical, they're bloody, they're to be expected. But I like more of the subtle scenarios, because I was like, I know Andy ain't laying next to this woman, but it was very, very unexpected. Actually, say I hated all of it.
I did.
I didn't like any of it.
A
But
good car bump always will get me together. I
I
do
will
it.
say what pissed me off the most, even if we were going to take Connor as a casualty, because we can't all be safe, not all the kids. This heifer in her adjacent happy ending, Laura, the menace, I hated that. We First of all, we haven't, where Andy, he's gone. He can't save her. The only reason that Piper is saved at all is because she showed mercy. Like,
Mhm.
heifer, after everything you've done, You
Yeah, no
don't
mercy.
get to have a bright moment. You don't get to go out with a certain level of respectability because you know oh my god, what am I doing? Not my baby, not cat. When it's your time, it's your time. Let me go. Like really? Oh now a warning? Really? Now you let her come up for air and the way that things wrapped up in that third act, it was so unsatisfying and so freaking quick. We lose Andy so quickly. Then we have her come in there and we can't see, the aftermath of everything, but we know enough. After touching Connor's head, like, oh, what color did you say his hair was again? Oh, he doesn't even have hair. Like, man, girl, that wasn't satisfying. And then we get all the way there. Like if she wanted to, she could have, pretty much had her way. It was only because she practiced restraint and kind of realized the wrong in her also right. Let me let her go. And then we have Connor get over that white line, and then the demon is just, released. And it's just okay now. And then we have her, in her own way harm herself enough to bleed out, and then we go in this water where her daughter initially lost her life and peacefully go on with the cops rolling up, at which she has her moment. And it's just like, all of this for what?
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody except for Andy, we couldn't take Andy with us. He could have came with us. He could have been hurt, could have lost the pinky toe, I don't know, but he still could have been there. Why he had to go? Why, Ashley?
I sound like they were taking this was personal because he had endured the most. You know what I mean? Like as far as trauma, abuse, all of that in his childhood, and for him to go out so bad, really in an effort to try to save Piper. Finally, he had finally gotten somebody to see the truth of what was happening, and then he just goes out. This was probably the most infuriating part, which was Laura's end, because it needed to be a bloody mess behind Laura. Like I needed her to pay. And I would have loved it if Baby Blind Bartimaeus would have been the ones to take her out. I thought that would have been awesome. I was here for Connor because he had been, thrown away at this point. But I just didn't believe it. I don't believe Connor gets out of this. I don't believe he just goes and gets to have a happy ending, and I don't believe Laura gets to go out peacefully. And in the end, it was mercy. To hell with mercy. At this point, girl, you didn't kill my brother. Like if I loved my brother, I'm gonna do, blind or not, I'm gonna try to get it back in some sort of way. I don't know, y'all. Or even with Connor, it was so close. It was so close. We were so close. Which, and also I think that's kind of another thing that I wish they would have explored, that dynamic of Connor coming in and out of himself, right? Like having some coherent and the ability to choose versus just being fully possessed. I think that would have been an interesting kind of area to dive into. But yeah, it was so lazy to me. It seemed like they just ran out and was like, okay, we're just going to wrap it up right here. Like it didn't seem like a ton of thought and effort was put into this end. And I hate that.
No, it's because she needed to pay. I needed her to get hit by a Mack truck or something. Like, what are we doing here? I needed her to go out real bad. It was just like, well, because she showed mercy, these kids get to go on and live, and we don't get to finish out this damn ritual. I was like, that's not satisfying. And even with how quickly it all unfolded, it's like, oh, it was just all convenient. Oh, I'm being attacked by Connor. I'm rolling down the hill, and I was like, oh, now your senses are on. Like, oh, girl, I need to get out of here. Oh, now I need to get out of here, Piper. I need to get out of here. And we run to safety, and we conveniently have Connor like, oh, I'm trying to, and it's just like, oh, so you mean to tell me this entire time as out, because we didn't too often feel like that Connor was under this intense restriction to where he couldn't walk over the damn line itself. And just like, okay, but ain't nobody looking, let me go spend a hot 15 over the line and release this demon and get back to myself. And we have that, that brief moment of her locking him in the little closet or whatever of the room, but it just, once again, it just wasn't enough, and I needed a little bit more, and I didn't need it to be so rushed. Y'all had us sat here this whole time for it, and we didn't even get to go through with it, and everybody's okay except for Connor. If we're gonna save them all, okay? He didn't have to go out like that. But closing thoughts, I will say that despite this not being, my favorite film at all, I will still be on the lookout for what these two guys have to offer. I do think is commendable, of course, in the horror space to be different. It's really hard to not regurgitate a lot of the things we've seen already. And so far, all of their films, for better or worse, they have had their own identity. So I look forward to what they have coming out next, whatever that is. I will say, I want some style over. I want some more thought put into whatever we do next. This doesn't, in my opinion, hold a candle to Talk to Me. I think it's one in the chamber, but like I said, I will not be going to watch this again. Ashley, closing thoughts.
Never, never, you never will I be over here in these streets at all. But I will say, and I'm just trying to look, is this their first feature? Was this their second feature film?
Mhm.
Like their sophomore effort? Because I
Yeah,
will say that a lot of directors flounder, especially when they get any level of success or praise or good criticism in their freshman efforts. You will see them like basically chasing rainbows with their second. And so sometimes they falter. I would need to see the trifecta before I would count them out. It wasn't, it was, I hated it, but I don't think it was bad. Like you said, especially in the horror genre, it's just different over here. So I'd be interested to see what they come up with a third effort, because I think Talk to Me was good. Like for all intents and purposes, I think it was a decent movie. It's just not my taste, but it was actually good. So I would be open. But yeah, this one, I'll never look at it again. Once was enough. It can go where it came from the pits, because that's who they have to be conferring with to come up with some of this stuff, Tyra. They got to be talking to demons. But it'll be interesting to see if they do, if they have another film, and if they stay with A24 and what
yeah.
that'll look like for them. I'm not sure what the box office looked like this weekend for this one, but you know,
And I don't want to see, grief and, oh, what are you going to do for the loved one lost? And, oh, we're going to inflict the most torture on the children. Like, go completely left with whatever your next venture is. I'll look forward to that. But y'all, I am going to run this little ad real quick as far as what we have coming up for the Saturday night watch along, members only watch along. I'm going to come back and let you guys know, of course, what we have going on. But if you want to participate in all of this good Boogie Nights foolishness, become a member of the struggle or a member of the Sweet Peas. We'll be right back, y'all.
Look at me, where she wanna be. Call me Freaky T. Off the leash, I feel like a dog. I be under me. You get T, never needed you, but you needed me. I got cream, they go baby clean. Lose your self-esteem. I get touched in the morning, so I feel like baby clean. Was it black, step by step, so I just like baby clean. Cause I'm cool, cause he also know you know it's giving cream. I got facts, but there's never no cup for the nigga too. I call that nigga good, that nigga good. Like a baby carry
All right, as you guys can see, we will be watching Boogie Nights. Ain't no doubt we are here to party. Boogie Nights. We're watching Boogie Nights, y'all, Saturday with the members. So if you want to be a part of that, please become a member. Ashley, you want to tell the folks anything we got coming up?
yes, tonight, you guys, we are back for episode 3 of Love Island. We will be live reacting to that at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard. So be here for that. Tomorrow night, we are going over in those and just like that streets. So make sure you're here for that. And Love Island, y'all, is every single night. And so we're venturing down this path. So we will be following that up with that, of course. And then on Saturday, we will be talking Tyler Perry's new movie, Straw, followed by Blockbuster Movie Night. And Sunday, we will round it out with the collective news. So please make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have that notification bell hit so you don't miss a thing. And consider a membership to the struggle or to the Sweet Peas. And come on over the Discord. It's free and it's fun. Come be a
Yeah.
part.
Please do. We just watched, bring her back over there, come on. Come on over there so you can do stuff like that. But once again, make sure that you guys are dropping below to comment your thoughts on this film as well as our commentary. As Ashley stated, we will be back really, really soon. So roll up on us and get some of that Love Island. We will be watching that for free in the Discord as well. And we would love to have you. I'm going to take you guys out of here with some of this Bring Her Back, and we will see you guys shortly.
What do you want from me? Why don't you run from me? What are you wondering? What do you know? Why aren't you scared of me? Why do you care for me? When we all falling asleep, where do we go? Come here. Say it, spit it out. What is it exactly? The pain is the amount. Cleaning you out, my satisfaction. Today I'm thinking about